Election night 2016. The party was over. After a few beers, we all lose
Election night
2016. So I cut the chatter.
The party was over.
Kid, 2 years after a few beers, we all lose. I know you're a spy. I should find another line of work.
So I cut the chatter and
told the kid. 2 years.
He was taken
aback,
but
I know you're a
spy.
spy. I hadn't shamed or outed him.
You should find another line of work.
The only other person at the table
it.
was a middle-aged woman.
He was taken aback.
A middle-aged American
least I hadn't
woman who knew a
shamed or
handful of
outed him.
Chinese words and was struggling.
The only other
to
person at
stay
the table
conscious.
was a middle-aged
We
American
heard her
woman
divorce
who knew a
story, and
handful
now she
of
was
Chinese
soaking in
words
it
and was struggling to
Beijing
stay
is
conscious.
13 hours ahead of the
We'd
East
heard her
Coast,
divorce
and
story,
I'd
and
been
now
at the
she was
Bookworm's
soaking in it.
election watch party since before lunch.
Beijing is
When the
13
first
hours
results
ahead of the
had
East
started
Coast,
rolling in.
and I'd been at the Bookworm's
For
election
decades, the word
watch
Bookworm
party
had been an
since
oasis
before
for
lunch,
Westerners.
when the
Half
first results had
bookstore,
started rolling in.
half bar, nestled
For decades,
in the embassy
the Bookworm
district.
had been an oasis for
The food was
Westerners.
lousy,
half bookstore,
but the beer was
half
good.
bar,
And the walls were
nestled
stacked
in the
with
embassy
books
district.
abandoned by
The
folks
food
leaving
was
town.
lousy, but the beer was
There
good.
were other
and the
watch
walls were
parties in
stacked
town.
with books.
I had a good friend at
abandoned by
the
folks
embassy,
leaving
but
town.
he hadn't invited me to their party. Probably
There were
because
other
we had a
watch parties in
$250
town.
bet.
I had a
and
good
he had
friend
a
at the
feeling he was
embassy,
about to
but he hadn't
lose.
invited me to their
I wasn't
party.
rooting for Trump,
Probably because we had a
but I could see he
$250
tapped
bet
into something.
and he had a feeling he was about to lose.
By noon, the
I
Bookworm
wasn't
was
rooting for
standing
Trump,
room only,
but I could see he
Americans in
tapped into
Beijing
something.
are diplomats,
Journalists
By
and
noon,
English
the Bookworm
teachers
was
standing
thousands
room
of them.
only.
Americans
And
in
not one
Beijing
of them was for
are
Trump.
diplomats,
Wait,
journalists,
it
and
was
English
exactly
teachers.
one, and I knew
Thousands
him.
of them.
And
He was an
not one
engineer,
of them
worked
was
all
for
the
Trump.
time.
Wait,
And when he
there
wasn't
was
working, was
exactly
in a
one.
palace of
And I knew
domestic
him.
bliss with his
He was an
gorgeous
engineer,
wife.
worked all the
I
time.
rarely saw him.
And when he wasn't working, was
At
in a
first, the
palace
room
of
buzzed
domestic
with
bliss
happy,
with his
warrior
gorgeous
joyfulness.
I
As
rarely
results
saw
started
him.
to come in on the big TV, the mood
At first, the room
darkened
buzzed
and
with
people
happy,
whispered.
warrior joyfulness.
Within an hour or two, it
As
became
results
clear
started to
that
come in
Trump
on the
was
big
going
TV,
to
the
win.
mood darkened.
A woman in a
People
corner
whispered.
was screaming.
Within
and
an hour or two,
crying.
it became clear that Trump
A
was going
CBS
to win.
correspondent was talking
A
to
woman
people,
in a corner
looking
was
for an
screaming,
expert
then crying.
to support his story.
A CBS correspondent
that
was
markets
talking
were
to
down
people,
on
looking
Trump.
for an expert.
I knew
to
that was
support his
nonsense.
story
The
that
markets were down on
Trump.
uncertainty.
I knew that was
As
nonsense.
soon as I
The
contradicted
markets
his
were down
story, he
on
moved on.
uncertainty.
But I was
As soon as I
persistent.
contradicted his story, he moved on.
He snapped, shoved
But
me,
I was
started swearing.
persistent.
I guess he wasn't
He
a
snapped,
Trump supporter.
shoved me,
No,
started
neither was
swearing.
I. I was just for good journalism.
I guess he wasn't a Trump
His
supporter.
translator looked
though neither was
embarrassed
I.
and
I was just for
apologized
good
with
journalism.
eye expressions.
His translator looked
I stayed
embarrassed
clear
and
of the reporter and let him
apologized with eye
work
expressions.
make his story
I stayed
magic.
clear of the reporter and let him
History
make
would
his
prove me
story
right.
magic.
The markets would skyrocket.
History would
days
prove me
later
right.
when the
markets would
uncertainty was gone.
skyrocket days later when the
As he
uncertainty
looked back
was gone.
with regret, I
As
doubt
he
it.
looked back with
Being
regret,
right is
I doubt
reward.
it, but being right is
The
reward.
party ended with the leader of the Democrats of Beijing.
The party
giving a
ended with the
shrill,
leader of the Democrats
melodramatic
of Beijing giving a
speech.
shrill,
Equality,
melodramatic
justice,
speech.
fight tyranny,
Equality,
arc of
justice,
history,
fight tyranny,
onwards.
arc
It
of
wasn't
history.
over.
Onwards,
She'd
it
had too
wasn't
many,
over.
but probably wasn't
She'd had
much
too
different
many,
sober.
but probably wasn't much
With
different
folks like this
sober.
yammering about,
With
I
folks
thought,
like this
no wonder a
yammering
young
about, I
Chinese
thought,
spy
no wonder a
thinks
young
cover is
Chinese
easy.
spy thinks cover is easy.
I had won my little bet.
I had
but
won
I
my
didn't
little bet,
Text my diplomat,
but
buddy.
I didn't text my diplomat
I guess
buddy.
he was a few more beers
I guess
in
he
than
was-
me.
I guess he was a
busy
few more beers
executing
in than me,
rituals to
and busy
learn
executing
to like his new
rituals to
boss.
learn to like his new boss.
I texted my engineer
I texted
friend,
my
but
engineer
didn't hear
friend,
back.
but didn't hear back.
I think about that spy every so often.
I think about that
after I
spy
explained
every
my
so
induction.
often. After I
He
explained
wanted
my
to talk
induction,
about career strategies.
he wanted to talk about career
I hope he found
strategies.
courage to change
I
direction.
hope he found courage to
The
change
world has no
direction.
shortage of spies.
The
and
world has no
there's
shortage
joy
of
to be
spies,
found in being
and
good
there's
at
joy
what
to
you
be
do.
found in being good at what you do.